Hi, my name is Safi Alia Shabaik, and we are in West LA at Open Mind Art Space at the debut exhibition for Personality Crash, Portraits of My Father who suffered from advanced stages of Parkinson's disease, dementia, and Sundowners Syndrome. This work was a collaboration between my father and I for a handful of years, starting in 2013 and ending with my father's passing on the first day of 2018. There are 44 pieces in the collection that show him aging with disease up until his death. And then there are 26 images that show him in vibrant life so that you realize he had a life before disease. This first image that I start with is from 2014 when my father was still fairly autonomous. He could still take care of himself, walk on his own with the assistance of a walker. He was not reliant on caregivers to assist him with anything at this phase of his journey. The work from here on is 2017, and it's really the last 6 months of his life where he was in need of hands-on assistance. He needed a walker or a rollator, sometimes a wheelchair. This photograph was made as my father was coming down from the staircase. His bedroom was upstairs. He was still able to get upstairs at this point. He was coming down the staircase and he landed in a spot just before getting to ground level where there was some dappled light coming in, and it fell on his face, and I asked him to stop. I had my camera, we made this portrait, I showed it to my father, and he loved it. It was one of his favorites. He did not tell me why it was one of his favorites, but he was really, he wanted this image as part of the group. Here's an image of my father taking his medicine. Like all Parkinson's patients, he had a routine that he needed to follow every day, multiple times a day, for administering pills to help him gain back mobility because his Parkinson's manifested with rigidity, muscle rigidity. One day, my father asked me to take him to the place. I asked him questions about the place, but he couldn't tell me anything more than he wanted to go to the place. On that day, he was already on the off period of his medication dose, so it would make it quite impossible for us to get him in the car and drive him somewhere. The next day, we promised him that we would take him the next day, but he would need to direct me as I drove. So we ended up packing a lunch for him, getting him in the car during his peak moments with his medication, and I followed his instruction on where to go, and he told me, three directions, and then he didn't know where to go. I kind of knew this was going to be the situation, so I ended up driving him to a nearby park where he would take me as a child, and we ended up having a picnic in the car. And this portrait was made of him as he's in the car with his bib on, eating his lunch. This image illustrates how our whole family was involved in my father's caregiving. These are my nephews, and they loved to play my father music and sing songs to entertain him during his nap time. This image shows my mother's love for my father. They had been together for 50 years at this point. You take vows, you say for better or for worse, and going through a journey like this is probably on the for worse spectrum, but there's so much love in our journey, going both ways, but I think this really shows the love of my mom for my father. When I initially made this photo, I thought it was about my father's fragility in the aging process. I came to realize that it's actually about his strength and perseverance in the face of his own adversity with disease. This film strip of images is an example of how this project brought my father and I closer together. This was just a playful game of footsie in the bathroom, but there were several moments like this. There were times when my father would reach out from his hospital bed to give me a big hug, and he would tell me I was from heaven. And in those moments, I knew that he was thanking me for my sacrifices in caregiving for him. So this is the end of the exhibition. You land here, which shows my dad in vibrant life. I wanted the exhibition to not only just be about his decline, but also to show that he was an active human being who was loved, who had adventures, had a family, This is my parents' wedding anniversary photo from their actual wedding day, and from before my sister and I were in the picture. They had a life. I really wanted to flesh him out as a whole human being, not just his disease. The exhibition is actually multimedia. It's the imagery accompanied by an audio element that is activated by these triggers on the wall. What you will hear on these audio narrations are excerpts from my journal entries during this caregiving process. There are a couple audios that involve actual audio with my father, but the majority of them are from my perspective of what I was experiencing along this journey with my father. The work on the walls represents our personal journey, my father's and my personal journey, or actually my family's and my personal journey with my father. We know that this is a universal story, and that this work can be beneficial in helping others understand illness and also give visibility to a demographic that generally gets overlooked in our culture. We hope this will open up the conversation on illness, aging, end-of-life care, and staying connected as a family during an experience like this.